Yes, I will. Okay.
Maria, I just want to acknowledge that Teresa Lara is with us.
Oh, very good. No la veo, but there she is. Hi, Teresa. If anybody doesn't know, Teresa Lara is president of Las Comadres para las Américas. Okay. And Ana is our secretary. And everybody knows who Nora is.
Yes.
Okay. So we want to welcome tonight Dr. Ana Nogales, and she has graciously offered to talk to us about a silent topic in our community, mental health. Ana?
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, it's really silent, but look at the prevalence of mental illness in the United States. 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness and 1 in 20 severe mental illness. 1 in 6 youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by the age 14 and 75% by the age of 24, really young people. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. And still, we don't talk that much about it. We hear more when there is some mass shooting or something like that, then we talk about, hey, what happened to these people? Maybe something was wrong. But otherwise, this is so prevalent in the United States that we should pay much more attention to that. Now, because of the pandemic and COVID-19, we know that us, as well as the Black community, African American community, have experienced higher rates of illness and death from COVID-19. And that has a negative impact on our financials, on our mental health. And of course, if we as adults are experiencing all of these kind of problems, it's going to have some kind of effect in our children or our adolescents or grandchildren. So as a Latino community, we have many challenges. We have unequal access to technology, and for that reason, many of us will not be able to work from home or do the house or do the schoolwork or maintain social interactions with others. Not everybody has the ability or the facility or the possibilities to be like in Zoom like we are right now. Also, the emotional stress of close living situations and finding care for children out of school has been really a challenge. Many families have many people in families, complete families, maybe 5 kids, 6 kids in one household, and maybe they have 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms. It has been very, very difficult. And the financial stress of healthcare costs, job loss, and more has had also been a consequence that is affecting our mental health because of the pandemic. So look at these numbers about exposure to the virus. Only 13% of Hispanics have jobs that allow telework, compared to 27% of non-Hispanics. Yes, we have a lot of our people, people in our community, men going to construction work, women going to maintenance work, into factories, doing that kind of work that where telework is not really an issue, it's impossible, and they don't have the elements to do this kind of work anyway. So Hispanics are also less likely to have jobs that offer paid sick leave or family leave. Therefore, they have to go to work, and if they are undocumented, you know, they're stuck. They really had to work. And that's where, when I was interviewing, not many than now, but a few months ago, and probably in the future too, when I was interviewing patients, they were saying, yes, I knew that I had COVID-19, but I couldn't do the test, or some said, yes, I did the test and I was positive, but I couldn't stop working. I had to go work because I had my children. I was a single mom with my children. How am I supposed to provide for them? And, you know, they were working in markets. Yes, they were working in markets, in restaurants. So we have a huge issue with health and with the difficulties that these people have to continue or take time off to be able to become healthier. And the commuting or working in public is another problem. You know, the people don't have cars. Many of them, they don't have their own transportation, so they have to go in the bus to work. Well, I don't know where you are. If you are in a big city like somebody else here is in San Francisco, maybe not. But here, everything is so far away that you need transportation. So if you don't have transportation, you have to depend on the bus. And that's, I think, where a lot of the virus can be transmitted. And we can't forget that there are disparities in healthcare, more likely than whites to live in cities and in close quarters where COVID-19 spreads more easily. So we are, a lot of our people are overrepresented in jails, in prisons, in detention centers, where we know that how they were getting sick so rapidly. Now, seeking healthcare is also an issue because many, 3 times more for Hispanics, we don't have insurance, medical insurance. Then a lot of people do not seek medical attention because of the language or cultural barriers, because they are misinformed, and this is having crazy, really. I myself have received a lot of terrible information, misinformation from Latin American countries. And when you think about our people that maybe don't speak English, they're in the community, and when they want to hear the news, they listen to the news, but then they receive this information from families and friends from Latin America, very bad information, misinformation, uneducated information. Who are they going to trust? They're going to trust the family or the loved ones more than what they see on TV. So the sense of distrust in the government, the sense of distrust in the system has made these people being actually being very taking really wrong decisions. The mental health issues such as trauma and grief also affect the ability to seek medical health, because a lot of people, when they are too depressed, they don't have the energy to go and seek services. They just stay there, they just wait until they feel better, they procrastinate, and then they don't seek medical care as needed. And then we have also higher rates of some chronic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, and obesity. And as you know, that increases the vulnerability and affects the recovery from COVID-19. So we started with the pandemic with a lot of uncertainty, and still nowadays we do. This has been a very long process. We didn't expect it to be that long. And as the time goes by, people just deny it. People just make it like, no, this is not happening, or this is not serious, this is made up, or this is exaggerated, or the hospitals are counting the people are passing from other conditions, and they tell it's COVID, all of those things that people think about it. And I think it's a coping mechanism to avoid facing what we're going through still nowadays. And we have to keep in mind that it has been told that in the next month, it might be another peak of the pandemics, especially in people that are not vaccinated. Now, the issue of social isolation has been a big one. People maintain distance from each other. And even myself, you know, I was connected all the time, but still not being able to see my friends, to see my comadres, to see even part of my family. It has been difficult. Isolating ourselves to protect ourselves has been difficult in all of us. It has created a lot of anxiety, and many of us have lost a loved one. Many have lost a family member or a friend because of COVID-19, but also I can see that there were many other people that have been sick or even passed away from other conditions that cannot say they are very related to COVID-19, but I think that emotionally they are very related because they were probably sick, and with the social isolation, with the senses of uncertainty and anxiety and worrying, maybe escalated the condition and aggravated into something else. So the whole thing has created a sense of helplessness and depression in our community and in every community. So when we face the reality, it's hard to face. So that created many mental health symptoms that can be common to other situations too. But, I have listed here the ones that are most common from nowadays, which are sleeping problems, appetite problems, irritability, and we saw that on the news, lack of energy, unexplained aches and pains. A lot of people are very worried about different symptoms that they feel like they're concentrating and see where I'm feeling something wrong, more on the hypochondriac side. Excessive worrying, fears, excessive sadness, extreme mood changes, social avoidance, feeling unsafe, confused thinking, problems concentrating and learning, difficulties understanding others, substance abuse, and there are also other symptoms related to those that having already experienced COVID-19 that have not been able to recover, experiencing neurological symptoms, feeling like in a cloud or not able to think clearly, having memory problems, substantial memory problems, and they still have not been able to recover. Not to say depression, right? Depression and anxiety goes along with that, and panic attacks. So more serious symptoms are being emotionally disengaged when they keep distance, they are totally isolated, they don't want to relate to others. Dissociation is like when they are here, but the body's here, but the person is like somewhere else, totally dissociated, like in another realm. Depersonalization, like feeling I'm not myself, this is not me, the sense of estrangement. Difficulty perceiving reality, and then we're talking about psychotic symptoms like delusions, hallucinations, which are more serious and are not just, many people think this is schizophrenia, but not always schizophrenia. It could be observed in severe depression, for example. Substance abuse has been another issue. Nearly 30% increase in substance use are reported that it has started to use, compared to below 16% for whites and blacks. So 37% for Hispanics, okay? So it looks like we are much more relying on alcohol or drugs for self-medication. I think most of the people are using it during this time for self-medication. People with drug or alcohol use disorders are almost 6 times more likely to attempt suicide than those without. So unfortunately, we have seen an increase of suicides during the pandemic. We don't have still the actual numbers, but we will see that pretty soon. And then the accidental overdoses, people that are unfortunately killing themselves because of overdosing. Overdose deaths have increased by a historic almost 17% nationally. And we can see also that the opioids, that we heard so much in the news about being careful with the opioids. And a lot of people go for the opioids because of confinement, because of depression, or the financial stress. So people go and use whatever they have handy. So they may have some opioids because they had surgery last year, and then they go and use them for self-medication, but not self-medication of pain, or could be for pain too, but they use it for the mental health issues. About 4% of the US Latino population abuses opioids, and this includes people as young as 12 years old, according to SAMHSA. So it's a good, reliable research SAMHSA to check it out. So 12 years old. Well, I understand that a lot of kids, when they were going to school, they were taking medication from the parents and they were selling it to others. So I guess that it's these youngsters being at home, they have access to the medication from their parents and they start using at home. Suicide incidence is 4 times more common among Hispanics than among Black or white people. But the ideation, not exactly committing suicide, the ideation. And especially girls. Girls are much more prone, I think 3 times more prone to have suicidal ideation than boys. Suicide risk increases across generations of Hispanic, with risk greatest among the US-born Hispanics. And this has been an issue of acculturation. So the US-born Hispanic are more affected because of the disintegration of the cultural values, such as familism and religion and social bonds. So they have the pressures from home, from the parents, from other relatives to be in a certain way, which is very, very valuable. But at the same time, they have the pressures from their peers at school or from friends, which are affecting the media, which are affecting the way they feel, they think, and it creates a lot of animosity and friction between the 2 generations. In 2019, suicide was the 2nd leading cause of death for Hispanics in suicide, right? Ages 15 and 34. So it's another way of paying attention to what's going on with our youngsters. Now, violence against women. This is something that we work at Casa de la Familia, the organization that I founded 25 years ago. And we see a terrible increase in intimate partner violence, an increase in sexual assault, and an increase in sexual harassment at work. Again, there are not definite numbers about this. Most of the stats say 20% increase. I would say it's much more than 20% increase, because we still did not hear from those women that have been victims of violence. Police officers did not have that many calls from women in domestic violence situations or sexual assault, because they are usually at home with the perpetrator. So there is no way that they can go out and do a report. There is no way that they can ask for help when they were confined at home, because they are very scared of actually the partner that is there with her. Unfortunately, there are so many stories being told about women complaining, calling the police shows up, and she tells what happened. Usually she starts telling about minor issues to see how the police officer is going to react, and maybe because he is behind her or somewhere close. So she starts telling the minor things, doesn't tell he wanted to kill me, he strangulated me. She doesn't say those things. And then the police officers will say, well, we don't have enough proof, there's nothing that we can do. Then the police officer leaves, and guess what she has to face? It's a very difficult situation now, especially nowadays because of the pandemic. And not just because the confinement, maybe we're not that much confined nowadays. We have much more room to live, to go out, but still there are not that many jobs available maybe, or there are not that many resources, or they think there are not that many resources, or they are afraid of going out to a shelter because they may get the virus in a shelter. So there's a lot of doubts. There's a lot of insecurity in women that are being nowadays victimized. Sexual assault can happen at home too. Actually, most of the sexual assault happen within family members. I just did an evaluation an hour ago of this lady that her father, biological father, was never in the picture. So his brother took over and he had the role of the father. And he started raping her since age 14, and even got pregnant from him. So usually that's more of the cases that we see at Casa de la Familia, and usually at home. Of course, it happens also outside the streets, but it's more rare. Usually it's by known persons, by someone that is known to the family, or by someone that is within the family. And sexual harassment at work is something that I'm very passionate about it. And I did a survey that I sent to all of you, so many of you have responded. And we have an incredible increase of women that are being sexually harassed and even raped at work. that was really an eye-opener for me, because so many women responded, I have the chills. So many women responded to this survey that are having rape at work. Incredible. So the laws, zero tolerance for sexual harassment at work, yeah, they are there. But actually what is happening is something totally different. So I'm working with another agency, women graduates doing that work, but I don't know how this is going to really be taken care of. I doubt it will be short term, but maybe we can get some responses, especially that what happened with Cuomo, which I don't know all the details, just what we see on the media, but that the issue of sexual harassment at work is again in the media. So there's a lot of work to be done. That we have zero tolerance for sexual harassment at work is not enough. It's the same thing like saying we have zero tolerance for domestic violence at home. So what, right? We need action. So mental health in children and adolescents during the pandemic, more than 25% of high school students reported worsened emotional and cognitive health. Only 1/3 felt that they were able to cope with their sources of stress, which includes strained mental health and peer relationships. And more than 20% of the parents with children ages 5 to 12 reported their children experience worsened mental or emotional health, which is a major concern because now schools are opening. And I hope that they're open for good, but we don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen with the Delta thing. So during all of this time, the schools were closed, so children were not referred to psychological treatment. Teachers were not able to observe when there was something probably traumatic or hyperactivity or any other mental health issues that children show at school. So and even when these children are at home and schools are closed, then they don't have access or that much access to mental health. To tell you the truth, we do a lot of telehealth. All of our services are telehealth, but telehealth with young children, with some is okay, but it's not the same. So really access has been restricted for these families with young children that do need mental health services. And we do know also that mental health services, when rendered at a younger age, is much easier to overcome whatever trouble is. So this is another issue that needs to be taken care of. So here you have some, this I found it interesting, is a reporting of worsening mental health for the children ages 5 to 12. This is for last year, October, November. So 22% overall worsening of mental health or emotional health, 4.4 elevated symptoms of depression. This is what the parents are reporting, right? 6.3 elevated symptoms of anxiety, 9.2 elevated symptoms of psychological stress. Now, this is parents saying, and you do know how many times parents, especially Latino parents, I would say, would just justify whatever. Oh yeah, he's not eating because he doesn't like the food, or he's mischievous, he's stubborn, or she's stubborn, está caprichosa. That's why she doesn't want to eat, right? Or yeah, it's running around. Well, it's a children. Children need to move and they're very hyperactive. Or they are autistic and they will say something like, "Oh, but he's such a sweet child. No, he loves mommy. He loves being with me. He's fine with me, and that's it." So we tend to justify more than we should, and unfortunately, that's another barrier in seeking treatment for mental health issues. Now, what is distress? Distress is an emotional response to our challenges, our demands, and we have stress. We all have stress in our life. So that creates distress. So distress is kind of normal, a normal reaction to whatever we have to go through, especially women. This is our version, the simple version of our mind, how we are everywhere, right? Running here, running there, everywhere. But we can go into burnout due to prolonged and unsuccessful striving towards unrealistic expectations, being those internal or external. And we feel that we have a decreased sense of accomplishment, we feel exhausted, burnout from being in too many things at once. And then we develop physical problems, right? We might lose our hair, right? It's a stress. Yeah, she's losing it too. Look at her. So there's also compassion fatigue because so many of our family members or loved ones have been traumatized by this pandemic, or have become sick because of the pandemic, or have been dealing with grief issues because of the loss of someone, of a loved one. So we may experience as comadres compassion fatigue because we are with everyone, trying to, to help everyone, trying to be with our comadres there. And it's not just one. This one is in pain. The other one is in experiencing marital problems because of this. And we are in so many things that sometimes we become traumatized by whatever is around us. So we have intrusive thoughts and images of whatever we saw probably at the hospital when we went to visit our loved ones, or we have avoidant responses and we don't want to leave home. A lot of women do not want to leave home. A lot of women that I see say, it was hard for me to stay home at the beginning, now I don't want to leave. A lot of avoidance behavior. Physiological arousal, they develop headaches, they develop stomach pains, they develop all kinds of different physical issues, somatic complaints, distressing emotions, and they might develop addictive and compulsive behaviors. Remember, behind any addiction, there is probably more than likely a trauma that we are trying to cover up with an addictive behavior or with addictions with chemicals. I don't know if you can read it, say, and that's how you make a peanut butter sandwich. And many women go home and then find the house like that, right? Is it too much? Focusing on others' needs, often neglecting our own. How many of us we do that? We think about everybody else and not ourselves, because as Latinas, we think that thinking of ourselves is being too selfish. We are on call for everyone. Call me anytime. Call me anytime. We're ready for whoever, and we feel proud of that, and that's beautiful. But what are we exposing ourselves to? It's difficult to make reasonable plans when we're ready and available for everybody else. And it's also hard when we don't have someone to support us emotionally. Many women live by themselves, so they don't have that immediate positive feedback, or just the opposite. They might have the negative feedback, and they might feel not appreciated. The negative feedback from children, or even the husbands or partners. We don't talk that much about that in Las Comadres, but I hear from the patients, I feel unappreciated. I feel I have done so much, but nobody cares for that. It sounds like it's my responsibility, it's something that I have to do, and nobody can notice me. So there are too many time demands and pressures. And of course, there's not enough time to get everything done. So before we begin our time management seminar, did everyone get one of these 36-hour wristwatches? I want one. I want one. So we do a lot of self-imposed demands. So we need to know about practicing good self-care, but not just do a great job for everything else or everybody else, also to have a life. And I'm telling that to myself too. Many of us as women, we have issues of raising a family, finances, running a home. Many are getting divorced, and I think the divorce rate is going to go up after in a few months. If the pandemic ends, we will see how many families or many relationships have been affected, or maybe not affected, but maybe the issue of being together in confinement, maybe that created so much resentment that they cannot live anymore. So we will see coming soon. Remarriages, maybe, not, I don't think that now, but it's gonna happen. And then blended families. I have so many families, so confusing. This is my children. These are my children from my first marriage. These are from my second marriage. These are my husband's children from the first marriage and for the second marriage. And these are the ones that we have together. It's a new way of family conception. Then we have the caring for the aging, for the parents, retirement planning, declining health, many issues that we have to face ourselves, right? And taking care of everyone because of the pandemic, everyone. Doctor, I'm learning how to relax, but I want to relax better and faster. I want to be on the cutting edge of relaxation right now. People are very impatient. People want to have things done like this. And it takes time. It takes time to take care of yourself. And when people put pressures on themselves like that, because this is a little extreme, of course, but I've seen them that, you know, they want to do everything faster so they will not have nightmares anymore. For example, it's impossible, and it creates more anxiety and then more frustration and then more depression. So the perception of the stress is more important than the stress itself, because it's how we perceive things, how we perceive the world, how we perceive our wellness, how we perceive our loved ones. And it's the perception, the whole thing is the perception. What do we see with our own eyes? So do we feel supported by others? Do you feel like people have your back, my back? The well-being is feeling connected and loved and part of a social network like Las Comadres. And is it balanced? That's always the same question, right? Is it balance possible? Having it all, trying to do it all, being the best, comparing ourselves with others, trying to be perfect, perfectionism. Perfectionism, the perfect thing is really the imperfect, because we cannot be perfect. But we do tend to compare ourselves to someone that excels in this, and somebody else that excels in something else, and somebody else that excels in something else, and we want to be excelling like all of these people at once. The self-demands are terrible, and that's what creates a lot of stress and a lot of discontent with ourselves. So being aware of what are our own mechanisms, how is it that we think, that we feel, that we perceive others, and how we perceive ourselves, that self-reflection is very important to be able to make changes if we need to make changes. So we have to be honest about the impact of the stressors on our functioning and wellness, and know your personal warning signs. When you start being bored, angry, when you are daydreaming, not wanting to be here, just somewhere else, feeling fatigue, loss of enjoyment, nothing is enjoyable anymore. You don't have motivation to do anything. You cannot sleep well, and you self-medicated for all of these things. Be careful. It could be just that you're putting too much pressure on yourself, that you're not kind enough to yourself. We should do a day of kindness to ourselves once a year. I think that will be a nice idea. A day to retreat and to be kind to yourself, and to think about what is it that you want, what is it that you enjoy, what is it that you like, what is it that you would like to change. A day of introspection and kindness. What fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? I can see Nora laughing. I think I'm gonna hang this one in my bedroom. Yeah. So we do live in times of uncertainty, of course, and you know, we learn how to feel helpless. We probably do not control of the environment or the events or the pandemic. We don't have control of many things in life. But we need to acknowledge the challenge and recognize and name our emotions and prioritize our behaviors to combat that negativity that sometimes comes with the sense of helplessness, that I don't know, I can't, nothing's gonna work. So we have to take steps into having more positive attitudes and mitigate those low energy moments with maybe mini breaks, taking your time. When we feel down, when we feel that nothing is working, take your time, take a break, and maybe in a few minutes, things are gonna feel much better. So this comes to the idea of positive psychology that this is the time of Aristotle. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. It's Aristoteles in Spanish. At that time, even he was talking about happiness that has been usefully thought of as consisting of at least two aspects: hedonia, pleasure, and eudaimonia, that a life well lived. So he was talking about having a good life. Do we have permission to have a good life? Do we give ourselves permission? In contemporary psychology, all of these aspects of pleasure and meaning have been described by Seligman. He talked about helplessness first, and then he developed the idea of positive psychology. And he talked about pleasure and meaning, and a third component, which is about commitment and participation in life. So remember, pleasure, meaning in life, commitment, and participation. Can we practice happiness? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We have to focus on the strengths instead of the weaknesses. We can build the good in life. We can practice gratitude, resilience, compassion, and that helps. Research shows that when we practice happiness, we can live longer and healthier lives. We can promote vitality. We can slow down the biological age, and we can develop better wellness, better health with a decrease of cardiovascular diseases. And I think there are many more than these ones, many other possibilities that we can do practicing happiness. Sounds so simple, right? And maybe some of you are saying, yeah, but think about it tonight when you go to sleep. Can you practice happiness? A lot of people, especially a lot of women that have had a hard life, actually, when they go to sleep, practice unhappiness. And they focus on everything that went wrong in the day. And they think about what can happen tomorrow, what can be worse tomorrow. So this is serious. This is not just to take it lightly. So we can integrate self-care into your daily life. We can make adequate time for yourself. We can schedule breaks throughout the day. We can do things that we enjoy. We can engage in hobbies. We can take care of ourselves physically and spiritually. We can take care of the relationships in our lives. We can say no. We can say no. Don't isolate yourself, and keep in mind that self-care is a good thing. Investing in yourself is a good thing. It's not selfish. And if you want to call it selfish, then selfishness is good. Practicing meditation is another very important tool for being happy. And if we do 20 minutes a day, that has been proven that it lowers the levels of stress and stress hormones, and that it activates the prefrontal cortex, which is very important for our reasoning and for making decisions and for happiness too. Meditation, very easy. You can have a lot of meditation on Google. Chocolate. Yes, this is the best part. Numerous chemicals in chocolate impact the brain and emotional functioning. The American Heart Association reports that consuming flavanol, which is rich cocoa, enhances brain function. So that's the good news, girls. Moderate chocolate consumption is associated with a lower risk of stroke. The only problem is moderate. Don't have the whole chocolate. Moderate, okay? But that's the good news, isn't it? Then another health issue, mental health issue, is communitarism, being a comadre, emphasizing interdependence and communal relationships with emotional engagement, and being responsive to the needs of others. So there are 3 C's in these relational virtues, which is connections, being connected, like las comadres connect. Contribution, we contribute when we get in touch with each other, with our comadres, and the creativity that let us help us to share whatever we create in our lives with other comadres. We have so many clubs, the book clubs, and all the many clubs that you know that we can participate and we can be creative. And we can be even more creative. We can create new clubs. We can just tell Maria, hey, I have a great idea. Why don't we do this? And it's really great, very good feeling to create something new. So what we need, comadres, we need them to provide support because it prevents and reduces stress. So we have the reassurance that is done through emotional support, appraisal support when we do feedback, when we give feedback to each other, the informational support, we give advice, like now, I'm telling you, take care of yourself. Instrumental support, time and resources by connecting with each other, and we can build up our community, which one of the main, this I think is the vision and part of the vision of Las Comadres, building up our community of Latinas. So the top 10 stress management techniques are eat, sleep, eat, sleep, eat, sleep, eat, sleep, eat, sleep. Why? We need to have a good diet. We need to, if we don't eat well, we are not going to have the energy to do everything I want to do. If we don't sleep well, if we don't sleep, women usually sleep about 8 hours and a half, but we all have different rhythms. And it depends if you have children, or depends on your age. But we need to sleep well, because when we do not sleep well, everything is hard, everything is difficult, everything is almost impossible. So, and especially now women, what we do is that when we have too much to do, then we wake up earlier or we go to sleep later, so we can have more time, and we extend our time because we want to do so many things. So please keep in mind to keep on track those 8 hours at least of sleep that you might need, or 7 or 9, whatever you need, to have a good mental health, because with good mental health, then you can think better, you can feel better. And if you feel better, everybody around you feels better. It's contagious. Happiness is contagious. So let's be happy. Let's keep our mental health, our wellness, and let's take good care of ourselves. Questions? Everybody's mute now.
Everybody's mute. Hi, this is Maria. You can take the presentation down if you want. I thought it was very informative. I love the cartoons. Thank you. And the chocolate, absolutely. I'm going to go out and get even more chocolate now. But yes, I think that what you were talking about to be kind to ourselves and to say no, you know, I think we do. I think we forget to do that, you know. We get so busy and we think that we have to do this and that and the other thing, and then when you realize it, you know, the whole week goes by and you don't take time to just sit in a chair and breathe. You know, sometimes you just don't breathe, and then you get to Sunday and you're like hyper, you know, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? And it's because you haven't been kind to yourself. So yeah,
it's very important. We don't notice sometimes how we stop breathing well. So bringing oxygen into our body is so important. When we're under stress, we don't breathe well, and then we don't give enough oxygen to our mind. So breathing is something that we have to be very aware of, how to breathe well. And there are a lot of things on Google that you can check how to breathe well, or how to combat anxiety through breathing. doing, deep breathing. There are many techniques on deep breathing that I think is very essential. So thank you for bringing that up.
Patricia was just saying on the chat that she has an Apple Watch, and her Apple Watch reminds her to breathe, to stand, and to move. So everybody has to go out and get an Apple Watch.
I use a Fitbit.
Look at that, a Fitbit.
It does the same thing. And many Garmin, anything, just get something that helps, that reminds you hourly to move.
Yeah.
I like the dancing aspect of the moving. And I think most of us Latinas, we do love music and dancing, and that's perfectly fine. If you don't want to do exercise, if you don't want to walk, just dance. Salsa.
Yeah.
Zumba.
A good merengue, because a good merengue is like 5-7 minutes long. So that's enough.
That's right, Maria.
Yeah. And everybody likes the idea about the chocolate.
Of course.
Yeah. One of the comadres asked about, she put down that the warning signs that you had mentioned were very scary. When you're feeling depressed and overwhelmed and everything, and sometimes she gets very scared, and she starts thinking that she needs to quit.
What do you mean by quit?
Like quit her job and just.
I'm asking her if she can tell us.
But
can be interpreted in many different ways.
Yeah, Patricia, if you want to talk, you had some very good comments.
Well, I made a lot of comments actually, only because she was hitting the notes, hitting the right spots, and a lot of it came back to, we do, especially in the jobs that, well, I know some of the people in this meeting, we do a lot of caring for others type of job, and we're at home, and we can't stop that, even more so now because our families need us even more so, because we're not able to get out to them, and they're not able to get out to us to ask or to get that support. So we do more now, and then we're at home and everything's right there. We just stay on constantly. I was the only bilingual care coordinator where I work at, and I had all the cases that were bilingual, and it was really hard. I got to the point where I almost quit. I couldn't serve them the way I wanted to serve them. I couldn't do for my families the way I wanted, and I get all the Spanish-speaking families. So with that comes all those issues, those fears. They feared going to get checked. They feared going out. They feared getting the vaccination. They feared getting checked, even if they thought they might have had it. But you're right, they kept going to work. They tried. We provided as many PPE as we could to the families. It's so, I'm tired. I mentally, physically, I'm tired, and I don't feel like I'm doing what I used to do, but I'm exhausted emotionally. I think that's what it is. And it came out just listening to you. But that's what I'm tired. I'm tired emotionally.
It's time to take a break, maybe, huh?
That's hard.
Can you?
Hard because it doubles up.
And also, I mentioned saying no, because we as Latinas, we tend to, when somebody asks for help, we say yes and yes and yes and yes, and sometimes we absorb more than we can. And at the workplace, when you say yes, yes, yes to everything, they know, just go to Patricia, she can do it. So when you say, okay, I have a caseload of 20, 30, I don't know what your work is, kind of work you do, but let's say you can handle 30 patients or 30 persons, whatever, right? And if there are more, you say, no, you have to say, this is what I can handle, maybe you have to hire somebody else. I don't know.
Takes a while to hire.
It's not always possible, but
yeah. And I guess in a way, Patricia, you have to set the limits, and you have to walk away. that you must, or you won't be able to serve anyone.
And sometimes, taking one day off, for example, on Sunday, if you don't work on Sunday, let's go on Sunday to the beach or to the mountains or to the desert or to the whatever, right? Something in nature. One full day in nature is so cleansing. It's so refreshing. If you can take 2 days, even better. But taking your time off, because if not, you will pay the consequences and you won't be able to help anyone else.
And
Very
I think
true.
you heard us refer to our watches and what they do and so on. Listen, you can buy a watch for $40 or $50 that'll give you a lot of these things that remind you to get up and walk or whatever it is. There's some that are very inexpensive, and it helps a lot. And it's very motivational when you look down and you say, oh, I've only walked 10 steps, or 100 steps, and say, oh, I need to walk more. And it helps you to kind of remember to do these things for yourself. And you can find some that are not very costly. I encourage you to think about it.
And I think that what Patricia said, I think that we can all relate to that. We can all relate to that. I remember you, Nora, working long hours until you said, that's it. This is what I can do. These are my boundaries. And you did it in a very healthy manner. And you told me once, and I repeated it before earlier in an Comadrazo. You said, I need to take care of myself because of my love for others, because I don't want others to be taking care of me at some point. And I think that was very wise, that comment. So sometimes when we feel that we cannot do things for ourselves, even doing things for ourselves is an act of love for our loved ones. Think about that.
Dr. Nogales, as you know, like I had like a nervous breakdown a few years ago. And so I was forced to look at mental health, and my life is so different today, and it's so peaceful. And, I've integrated exercise and, therapy and a stable, sane job. And now I notice the corporate culture, I hear it a lot where it's almost like cool to, not cool, I mean, it's probably true, but people overworked and overcommit, like, how was your weekend? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's Monday, and, or this culture of emailing at 1 o'clock in the morning and 6, like, and it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's being productive if they're sending emails at all hours and working a ton. So anyways, my question to you is, I try to stay in my spirit of holding my own, but when I do share that my life is peaceful or just chill, I get little negative feedback. Oh, must be nice, or I wish I had that, or da da da. So like, I know that it's coming from a place of privilege now, but I've worked hard at it, but now I get to reap the benefits. But how can I respond to, like, I guess it's, I can only lead by example, right? I don't have to have a response for people. I could just speak my truth that life is, I've learned to integrate things that keep me healthy, like exercise and all of those things in service. But how I don't know, not take in the negativity or this negative comments of when someone is taking care of themselves.
That reminds me of Comadrazo many years ago when Mariana, we were all complaining about something. We even complaints, usually about my husband, my boyfriend, those kind of things. And Mariana, one of the comadres, said, I don't have anything of that. I have a great husband. I don't have to worry about finances because we are okay. I don't have anything of that. And she felt awkward. She felt awkward. But for the rest of us, or I can talk about myself maybe, I can tell you that that's hope. So when somebody says, I'm okay, I'm having a better life, I have learned how to balance my life according to my values or according to what I want in life, and I'm okay, it's actually inspirational. So maybe when you feel that people may take it in a negative way, that can be maybe a reaction at the moment of someone that says, oh, maybe she's faking, or maybe she's not serious, or maybe she's trying to show off, or maybe she. But as long as they see you happy, as long as they see you well, actually you are being a role model for others. So if they react negatively, you can think to yourself, it's okay. They are confronting themselves. I am a mirror to them. So I am a mirror of how I'm doing, and they are not feeling the same way. So they feel confronted with their own life or whatever is out of balance. But it's okay, because me being a mirror to them is going to help them maybe to find that balance or that peace or that happiness that they might be yearning but not getting there yet. So I think it's very powerful to be in the place that you are, and not just because of you, but because of being the mirror to others, to empower them. So keep that image. If that image works, I will use that image, but you can use whatever image, because you are really a role model. In this society, we are all rushing, all trying to do this and that, and taking advantage of the opportunity that is presented. And we get involved in very sick situations. So having someone that is in the right track is beautiful. It's beautiful to have you, comadre.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Ditto.
Any final questions? Anyone? So we want to thank you, Ana, for being with us this evening and for sharing, your presentation and your wonderful advice. We definitely need to be kind to ourselves and maybe to others. And we have to learn how to say no. And we all have to aspire to be like Teresa, calm in ourselves, kind to ourselves, strong in ourselves. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.